I think you did a really good job, Beju.
Thank you. Yeah, so let's, Monica, if you want to start, and
Sure.
if people have any questions, please.
Okay, not a problem. So I wanted to just, again, thank you guys for spending your Friday morning with us. We do appreciate your time, and it's exciting, having you guys all here and seeing you guys online with us really makes the efforts that we did today well worth it. Piggybacking on Beju's comment, the learning curve on this has been pretty amazing. It's pretty intuitive, um, like an intuitive app. What we did a month ago, I know a lot more, and so I think you guys are going to get a lot more features and demos based on just me playing with it and having fun with utilizing it in different parts of teams. I wanted to, before I even go through this, I think one of the things that I wanted to make sure I let you guys know that having Copilot and being able to use it in what I do has made me more excited at work. So I love doing what I do. However, some of the tasks just become there's just a lot of it, or I don't feel like I'm organized, or I don't feel like I have the right resource to get me through. And being able to use Copilot this last month has really made what I have to do exciting, and has left me leaving each day feeling, productive. So on that note, I'm going to show you guys kind of how I use it in Teams and get you guys squared away. So Copilot houses in numerous places. I'm going to show you where you can find it in Teams. So there's a few places. Number one, you can use Copilot within a chat. Sometimes I need an answer somewhere, and or I'm irritated. I love that it can filter my tone. I don't need my staff to, be upset or anything like that, but maybe something's happened. I don't know. So I can quickly go, why are you not responding? This is how I feel. I don't necessarily want to say this. So I can push the little Copilot button here, and it's going to ask to rewrite it. I can also adjust it. I can say, you know what? I feel this way, but let's make this enthusiastic. And then what it'll do, it'll replace it. I hope you're doing well. Can you please reply to me? So it's a good in your chat feature, allows you to rewrite things to your team. You may not use it as much, but if you have to use it to an external user on Teams, it'll help clean up your chat in here. Any questions on this part?
Nope. That's
Okay.
Good.
Cool. The second thing is what I find probably one of the most important things is up in here, here's where it houses also for you to organize yourself. So I'm going to click this, and you are going to see, let's see. I actually had done this earlier, so now you can see this. In here, you can ask Copilot different questions to help organize your train of thought or a meeting, or gather all your information from the other Microsoft apps and kind of put it in here so you can just get your information faster and be more organized. So I went ahead and asked it a simple question. I said, I need an update on the latest items regarding this company. Can you search my emails, chats, files that reference this company? Use the last 2 weeks. So what it did is it pulled up my emails and it bullet pointed them for me. It also has a little reference here. So if I wanted to actually go to that email from this bullet point, I can click and it'll launch me into Outlook, and I can it'll launch me into Outlook into that email. So I've just have saved a lot of time right away. I like that it does put me right into the other app if I need to get there. It then also took my Teams messages and it went ahead and gave me some bullet points there. Again, I can reference it and I can launch it into that exact team chat where that was mentioned. Again, another time saver. It pulled up the files. So it has a list of files. It has links to those files. Going back to what Beiju had mentioned in the previous part of the presentation, it's only going to pull up the files that I have access to. It will not pull up any confidential files that I am not privy to at all. So these are files that either I have worked on or my team has worked on and is in our SharePoint site, and I have access to either view or edit those files. Same thing with the Teams messages. It will not pull Teams messages from my staff unless I'm in that message as well. Um, so right away, it took Copilot maybe a minute, less than a minute to gather this information. I can kind of process it. As you all know, in management, we still have other ideas in our head where we might think it might have missed it. And this is where you can work with Copilot to start gathering more. So I went ahead and asked it a follow-up question. There's also a chat from Kyan giving an update on what he did Tuesday. Can you please add that information? So it definitely added the information that I knew I had seen it at some point. I just didn't want to go look for it. So um, here's an example of making Copilot better. Instead of just relying on its first response, proceed to ask it more. And then at that point, I said, please include that in the draft. So I want it to kind of create a draft for me so I can email my executive point of contact and give him an update. So it started to create a draft for me based on the data set that I asked it previously. Um, I did have to take this later and kind of play around with it because maybe I didn't want it to mention all the things, but at least it's taking everything that I've asked it to, putting it into a file for me. I went ahead and quickly took this, copied it. I went into Outlook, I pasted it. I did a few edits on my own. I probably could have used Copilot in Outlook at that point to drill down more. This was enough for me to just kind of get the pieces there, and then I can add my spin as I need it. You can also, so when you get to here, it it should have made a new screen for me, so I'll have to fix that in a little bit. But what I also like about this is it stores my history. So what I've done here, it'll save. And so I have, if I want to reference something else that I did maybe 2 weeks ago, I could go to my Copilot chats and I can go to a different one that I had done. And now I'm back in line with what I had asked it a month ago on May 9th. So I like that it takes my information, it gets me to a point where I feel like comfortable, I'm updated, and now I can go back to it in a few weeks and kind of go, hey, let's update this. So this is kind of where I use it in Teams to organize myself. Any questions on this?
Nope.
Okay, perfect. Beiju, I think we're doing really well. Not too many questions. The last part I wanted to show you how we use Copilot in meetings, such as the one that we have right now. I'm going to go ahead and get to this meeting. So there's two ways you can use Copilot in meetings on Teams. One is in a live meeting where maybe you just pushed record. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and use the Copilot feature in our meeting right now, and it'll be a button at the top just like all your other ones, and again it'll pull this little panel on the right hand side and you can start asking it some questions. So here are some ideas that they have that you can click and you can use any of their suggestions. So I can say if I had to step away from a meeting and now I'm back and maybe somebody had mentioned something important, I don't want them to repeat themselves. So I can go ahead and click this and I can say, I, I should have made a modification. I'm sorry. You can say recap the meeting so far, or you can say recap the meeting for the last 5 minutes, so it doesn't have to go through the whole transcription from the beginning. And so what it did is it went ahead and gave me some key topics of what we've been talking about. It talks about how Beiju explained some benefits and how I'm talking about Copilot in chat. So as the meeting progresses, you can keep asking it to recap the last few minutes if you've missed anything. Another important one at the end of the meeting, you can always do generate meeting notes. And what this will do is it'll give you the key topics, just like we showed you, but it'll add to it. It'll also give you action items. And then you can even ask it, based on these action items, who can I assign them to? And I'll show you that later in a different meeting that I have to present to you guys. So one of the benefits of this is making sure you're engaged with your staff, with your client, without having to take notes. You can also uh, go back and see, are there any questions that were unresolved? And this just kind of lets you be in the moment of the meeting and not worry about what it is that you need to jot down. And that really helps because you can have a conversation, you can have a joke, you can just be a little more at ease with your staff or your attendees. The only con to this is when the meeting is stopped and you leave it, Copilot is no longer available. So even though you've recorded it, you're allowed to use Copilot in a recorded session that you started during the meeting while the meeting is still happening. So there's been times where I didn't want to lose the data. I stayed on the meeting as everybody left. I went ahead and asked all these questions, and then I went ahead as after that and let me show you. I went ahead and just copied it and put it into a Word doc so that way I had the information knowing that I couldn't access this recording because it wasn't a set to record meeting. So on that note, I recommend that if you are having meetings that you set those meetings to record because that is going to provide you the option to go back later. So I will show you my last spot on how we can go into an actual recorded meeting that was done on the 9th. There we go. So internally, we had a meeting. It was set to record. And at that point, when the meeting was done, I'm back in the calendar. I'm able to go to it. I am going to click the recap button that I have. And at this point, I can use Copilot to catch up or help me get back into that meeting and understand, is there stuff that needs to be done? So if I push Copilot here again, it houses in the same area. Just like your chat history, it's super cool that it saves this. So I had done this, so long ago on the 9th. It's been almost a month, and I can go back and reference what I already asked it. That right there is such a time saver. We had this meeting. If you're an attendee of the meeting and maybe you didn't make it, but it was a recorded meeting, you have this option to go back and kind of catch up or get back on track with your team and not have to enlist them to help you with an update, which now you've saved them time because they're working on projects and you can kind of get yourself up to date and ask relevant questions after you've updated yourself. So here's the meeting. I went ahead and asked Copilot, what is this meeting about? I'm assuming I didn't get to attend it. And it went ahead and gave me a pretty good one sentence summary of the overall idea of this meeting. I also then asked it some questions about what people asked. So I noticed here that Jim in the meeting was a speaker at some point, and I'm a little interested in to see what he was asking about. So it said, I asked it, what did Jim talk about? And it gave me some bullet points of what he had mentioned. It also references it into the video. So if I want to go in there, I can kind of go back and find out at what time, and I can go and listen then at that point. Here's another thing that Jim had mentioned. Again, I can go 2 minutes into the meeting, and I'm sure if I click this, it's going to take me to that part of the recording and I can listen to it. So a great way to get through maybe a recording if you don't have an hour to spend. And the next thing is based on the comments that it told me that Jim mentioned, I was curious. I wanted it to give me an example of phishing resistant MFA. It was something that was talked about. I don't know much about it. I want Copilot to educate me on it. So it nicely gave me a description of it. It gave me some examples right here. Sorry. And then what I really liked is at the end, it tied it in to our meeting and it told me that Christian explained the difference between this in the meeting. So it gave me definition, it gave me an example, and then it circled back and it gave me something that was relevant to this meeting, which I think was pretty cool. I also asked it for action items. So just like I had mentioned to you before, you can ask it what's kind of pending, which it gave me a bullet point. Even better, I asked it, let's see, let me go down a little bit. Based on the meeting and what tasks are needed, and assigned to who. So I asked it to assign these tasks to people. And so it went through and based on the participants and what they had said, it assigned Christian, Jim, Avi, and everybody these tasks that were discussed in our meeting. We may or may not agree with some of these task assignments, but at least you kind of have an idea, who should work on what, and then maybe edit it based on, scheduling or who's working on another project that Copilot may not know about. But it's kind of getting the guesswork out of your head and putting it there. It's saving me time on typing, organizing myself. I feel like in the morning I wake up, I may have 30 unattended tasks. This has really helped me to focus and get into each each project and not have to worry about getting all the information, going into Outlook, going and find the file. I'm slowly teaching it and teaching myself how to bring all that information into Teams. I love the copy button because then I can go to the chat and maybe there's a specific chat to this project and I can copy it and I can put it in that chat and go, hey, this is what Copilot has given me. Where are we on this? So I think that is all I have to show for now. And you're more than welcome to ask your questions at the end as well.